this next story, I'm just going to read the headline and the opening sentence of this piece. Genitalia questions debase trans debate, says Angela Rayner. It is unacceptable to ask a woman if she has a penis. Now, presumably, Simon, similar debates were being held shortly before the fall of Rome. What do you make of all of this?
What I find really disappointing about this is that this is in need of a proper discussion. Back to why I wrote the book. It's in need of a proper discussion. And the way I always approach it is this. There is a legal situation, there is a biological situation, and there is a social situation. Biology is immutable. I mean, there are two sexes, male and female. Some people experience extreme pain in relation to being one of them and make a choice. And we have a piece of legislation passed in 2004, which was called the Gender Recognition Act. And what it does is it creates a legal fiction which enables somebody to be treated legally as if they were the opposite sex. So on one level, yes, in law, it is possible for a woman to have a penis. It's not the right question, but I don't trust Angela Rayner's reason for raising this, because socially, if you meet people who have transitioned or are saying that they wish to live as the opposite sex, then as far as I'm concerned, I'm reasonably happy to just dignify that. Why wouldn't I? I mean, I've got friends and you tell a story about them or you talk to them or you refer to them, I would refer to them as she. So I want to make the distinction between the biology, between law and policy, and between the social acceptance. The problem with allowing the idea of self-identification, because that's the problem is extending the scope of this legal fiction. And what happens then is that people start to be able to go into spaces which are, for very specific reasons, designated for single-sex occupancy. The classic ones are the NHS ward or the Women's Refuge. And Women's Aid put out a brilliant thing the other day where they said, look, we're a federation. We've got a bunch of organisations. They all determine how they're going to deliver their services, but we are established in the interests of the victim. And if the victim needs a single-sex space, then that's what those people should provide. And if the victim is happy and safe in a space which has got trans women in it as well as women in it, well, then that's also possible. In other words, there is room for a way through this. But what is happening at the moment is it's being weaponised. And Labour is making a really foolish mistake because they should be able to recognise the difference between biology and law and social circumstances. And they can't just say what I've said, which I think is a reasonable way forward for a solution and a discussion.
Very well put, sir. Josh, what do you make of all that?
Well, I could not disagree with Simon more. No, I'm joking. I agree with every word he said. Great. Well done, mate.
Okay.
Got that one.
But it is so vexing.
Yeah, oh, no, it's so... But specifically this story about Angela Rayner is when she says she wants this gender identity discussion to be taken off social media. Social media basically saved the day. Yes, there's been a huge amount of death threats and rape threats towards those people who have raised these questions about fairness and women's spaces. But that has got other people involved. And this stuff that was creeping in that people weren't aware about coming through, unfortunately, by Stonewall over the last 5 to 10 years has now been somewhat halted. At least people are aware of it and people are arguing back. And now we are talking about it.
And it is worth remembering that the way in which, as you kindly pointed out, was one of the, originators of Stonewall. The two key things about how Stonewall made progress was that when we've always made progress, since back to the Wolfenden Report in 1957, right the way through to gay marriage and whatever, actually, the whole point about making progress on homosexuality is it's never made by talking about homosexuality, because that's not the point. The point is equality. It's a group of people who are being discriminated against simply on the basis of who they are. So you can make an alliance with other people who understand that, who don't necessarily approve of homosexuality, because they understand the principle of equality under the law. So talk to people who don't agree with you and find the common way through. Don't, like Angela Rayner's doing, side with people in a ludicrous way.
Well, on a very sort of anecdotal level, on Friday, this thing came out that about someone crying because they'd been talking about the stuff, and they were talking about the swimmer in America. And I just said, everyone was very supportive of the swimmer. And I said, well, she does have biological advantages. She went from male puberty. I got, swamped on like 6 people just abusing me, like 24 hours people making memes about me. I mean, that's the toxicity. Just for me going, there's biological differences that we need to look at. The abuse style.
I was asked to do a sixth form talk. Just one last thing is that did a sixth form talk the other day, and a really intelligent, lovely girl was put her forward, her kind of anxieties and whatever about it, and she said, I don't want to exclude trans people, and she was coming from a kind of I want to be kind position. I was going, that's absolutely fine. It's also worth thinking, though, about the women who are excluded. So there's trans people are maybe excluded, but there are women excluded. That's the point about the balance.